Now let us discuss some models of problems that are regularly appearing in pre-medical examinations from molecular basis of inheritance. Let us see the first problem. Read the problem clearly. Calculate the total ester bonds present in the 5 turns of DNA molecule. What is the data given in the question? Simply, they are asking us to find ester bonds. In the question they have given data, that is DNA, which is in 5 turns. Generally, ester bonds can be identified because of the number of nucleotides, right? But in the question, nucleotides were given directly. We can use the formula, that is a 2n minus 2. But in the question, nucleotides were not given. So we have to yield the nucleotide from given data in the question. That is 5 turns of DNA. So 5 turns is equal to, for each term how many nucleotide base pairs are there? 10. So 10 base pairs into 5 turns. That is equal to 5 turns. That is equal to 50 base pairs. 50 base pairs means how many nucleotides? To get nucleotides, we have to multiply with 2. That are 100 nucleotides we got. So now it will be very easy without any confusion. What is the formula we have to use to find out the ester bonds? 2n minus 2. What is n? N is equal to nucleotides. There were 100 nucleotides are there according to the question in the given data, from the given data. So 2 into 100 minus 2, that is equal to 200 minus 2, that is equal to 198. So ester bonds in the 5 turns of DNA would be 198. Is clear answer. So what is the concept, behind this formula? Simply, what is ester bond? Where does it can be identified? Ester bond can be identified between the pentose sugar and the nitrogen base. Here, this is ester bond. How many nitrogen bases were there for one pentose sugar in one nucleotide? Only one. Okay. So, according to that, number of nucleotides is equal to ester bonds. For one helix, 10 base pairs or 20 nucleotides are there. Formula is 2n minus 2. Here 2 into 20 minus 2, that is equal to 40 minus 2, 38. For one helix you will get 38. One helix is equal to one term. Sometimes a student will confuse and do like this. For one term there are 38 ester bonds are there. In the question they were asked 5 terms. So that 38 into 5 they multiply. Then they will never get correct answer. That is the wrong perception. Always number of helices would be not an issue. We have to follow a formula, that is 2n minus 2. Why doesn't it works? For that question means here the free phosphate molecule is 1 in one strand and other strand is also 1. So 2. So here 2n means what? 20. There 2n means 100. Here already subtracted. And if you multiply with the 5 times the free hanging phosphate molecules we are going to add. That is wrong. N number of helices will be there. Okay. One and another one for one strand, one phosphate, another strand, another phosphate only will be free. So we have to subtract only 2 phosphate molecules so that we will get the phosphoester bonds, called generally ester bonds. I hope you understand. Sometimes a student will confuse and do like this. For one term there are 38 ester bonds are there. In the question they were asked 5 terms. So that 38 into 5 they multiply. Then they will never get correct answer. That is the wrong perception. Always number of helices would be not an issue. We have to follow a formula, that is 2n minus 2. Why doesn't it works? For that question means here the free phosphate molecule is 1 in one strand and other strand is also 1. So 2. So here 2n means what? 20. There 2n means 100. Here already subtracted. And if you multiply with the 5 times the free hanging phosphate molecules we are going to add. That is wrong. N number of helices will be there. Okay? One and another one for one strand, one phosphate, another strand, another phosphate only will be free. So we have to subtract only 2 phosphate molecules so that we will get the phosphoester bonds called generally ester bonds. I hope you understand. Clear? Let us see the second problem. This time we are approaching to calculate the CN rings. Let us see what are the CN rings. Read the question first. Calculate the carbon-nitrogen rings present in the DNA which has 4 helices. In this question, DNA is about 4 helices, means 4 turns, means 4 pitch. What is CN, carbon and nitrogen? So let us solve the problem. Then let us see what is the principle behind the solution. So given question, CN rings we have to calculate, and nucleotides were not given. 4 helices are there. Go for 4 helices. 4 helices is equal to 4 into 10 base pairs. Each helix is equal to 10 base pairs. So 4 into 10, 40 base pairs. 40 base pairs means how many nucleotides? If you want to turn the base pairs into nucleotides, you multiply into 2. So 80 nucleotides. To calculate the CN rings, number of base pairs into 3. In the question, number of base pairs we need 40 into 3. That is equal to 120 CN rings is the answer. So you just use the formula number of base pairs into 3. You will get the answer. Why should we have to use that formula? Let us see. CN ring. If it is the purine, purine means either adenine or guanine. They have 2 ring structures. One is pyrimidine ring structure, another one is imidazole ring structure. So number of rings present in adenine or guanine are 2. Number of rings, CN rings, carbon nitrogen rings in any pyrimidine is 1. In any purine, 2. Adenine or guanine, 2. Thymine or cytosine, the number of CN rings are 1. So, one base pair BP is equal to either A plus T or G plus C. In case of A plus T, how many rings will be there in the A? 2. How many rings will be there in the T? 1. So that is equal to 3. Other case, number of CN rings in the G will be 2. Number of CN rings in C will be 1 is equal to 3. So in given helix, at any nucleotide base pair, total number of CN rings are always 3. That is the reason we took the formula number of base pairs into 3. Irrespective of anything, AT or GC, how many are there in the sequence? Not an issue. Number of base pairs into 3, CN rings answer will come. I hope you understand. Clear, right? Let us see the third problem. This time we are going to calculate about the phosphodiester bonds. Question: ensure the total phosphodiester bonds, short form is PDB, phosphodiester bonds, present in the DNA. This time DNA was given in the length. Why? Because the DNA, which is about 272 angstroms in length. If you want to calculate the phosphodiester bonds, you want nucleotides. So general formula to calculate the phosphodiester bond is N minus 2. What is N? Here, therefore N is equal to number of nucleotides. Does question consist of any nucleotides? No. So in question what they have given? DNA length. Calculate the nucleotides present in a given such a DNA length. So 34 angstroms is equal to 1 helix. That is 1 helix is equal to 10 base pairs or 20 nucleotides. Clear? Then how many nucleotides, what is the length given here? 272 angstroms. How many helices are present for 272 helices here? For that, 272 by 34. If you want helices, if you want nucleotides, for each nucleotide distance is 3.4 now, so that 272 divided by 3.4, you will get base pairs. But according to the order you will go, so that is equal to 4 8s, 272. So 8 helices. One helix is equal to 10 base pairs, then 8 helices is equal to 80 base pairs. 80 base pairs is equal to how many nucleotides? 160 nucleotides. So we can do the sum now. We have to calculate the nitrogen bases in place of the ester bonds or phosphodiester bonds from the helices as well as from length also. So this is a universal formula. For whatever they have given length, you can go for the helices or terms. You can, by the terms, you can go for the base pairs and also nucleotides. If they given the helices also, you can go for length or base pairs. So when you extract the data in any of the format, then answer will be easy without any confusion. We can choose one of the option. You can choose one option among the 4 without any doubt. So here 8 helices are there. What is the formula? N minus 2. What is N here? Helices or nucleotides? N means nucleotides. So N minus 2. So that N is equal to 160 minus 2 is equal to 158. So in 272 angstrom lengthy DNA molecule consists of 158 phosphodiester bonds. This is the concept behind this formula. Now let us see. What exactly the phosphodiester bonds? Phosphodiester bonds are formed outside of the DNA or center of the DNA? Outside of the DNA. If you see, this is one nucleotide, polynucleotide chain. We have taken 3 bases one side. Then this is the thymidyllic acid, and this is a adenyllic acid, and this is a guanylic acid. So thymidyllic acid 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th carbon. At 5th carbon phosphate is there is no doubt. And here also 5th carbon phosphate is there. Here also 5th carbon phosphate is there. So first carbon H and OH, and that is already coupled with the glycosidic bond with the nitrogen base. And second carbon, what will be there? OH molecule will be there. So it is a DNA now, H will be there, not OH. In the RNA sugar it will be OH. The 3, what will be there? In the 3, OH will be there. So this OH and this the third carbon of one nucleotide and 5th carbon of one nucleotide form ester bond. So here one ester bond is there now. The between phosphate, before we calculate between the phosphate and sugar molecule, one ester bond is there. Between third carbon and this phosphate, another ester bond is there. So diester bond is there between 2 nucleotides. So 2 nucleotide gives one diester bond. 3 nucleotide gives another diester bond. So 2 diester bonds, 2 phosphodiester bonds are present between 3 nucleotides of one strand. Don't confuse, phosphodiester bonds will not form between 2 nucleotides of opposite strand. They form always between 2 nucleotides of same strand. So accordingly, for one helix, how many base pairs are there? 10 base pairs are there. How many nucleotides are there? 20 nucleotides are there. According to the formula, N minus 2, N is equal to 20 minus 2, the 20 minus 2, 18. So for one helix, how many phosphodiester bonds are there? 18. So whatever the data they are given, you just go for the nucleotides and apply the formula N minus 2, you will get answer very quickly. Okay, let us solve the 4th problem. This time we are going to learn about the hydrogen bonds. You know very well where the exactly hydrogen bonds are present. Hydrogen bonds helps to pair the purines with pyrimidines, okay, in the DNA structure. Observe the question. 5440 angstrom DNA molecule having 15% of cytosine. Find the total hydrogen bonds in the given DNA molecule. So what is the data in the question? Length of DNA and cytosine was given. If cytosine was not given, it is impossible to calculate. So what I am going to tell you, In the question, any one of the nitrogen based data should be present to calculate the hydrogen bonds. It is a primary information. Let us solve the problem. So they are given the data in angstroms. So 34 angstroms is equal to 1 helix, as you know very well. We are seeing from a couple of sessions. 1 helix is equal to 10 base pairs and 20 nucleotides. This is the basic one. Then what is the length of DNA here? 5440 angstrom has how many helixes? So 5440 by 34. Right, 30 hundreds, 34 hundreds, 3400 and 34 60s, 2040. So 5440. So 34 breaks 5440 at 160 times. At 160 times. Okay, fine. So 160 helices. 5440 angstroms DNA will have 160 helices. 160 helices means how many base pairs? 1600 base pairs into 10, right? So 1600 base pairs have how many nucleotides into 2? 3200 nucleotides. So this is how we are getting information. Now we got nucleotides and we got base pairs from the given data. That is very good. Now see, cytosine percentage have been given. So C is equal to 15%. C is equal to 15% means C is pairing with A or T or G. So C is always pairing with G. So the G is also 15%. So C and G together 50%. Okay. 15%, that is not the data for 100. So here, so then, okay, now A plus T is equal to 100 minus C plus G. C plus G is equal to 15%, right? So that 100 minus 50%, that is equal to 85%. What is 85%? A and T. A plus T combinations are 85% in total. So if you calculate the A plus T combinations in total 1600 base pairs, that are 1600 into 85 by 100. So that are 1360. Clear? Whereas 1600 into 15% by 100, that is equal to 240. What is this 240? G plus C. What is this 1360? A plus T. So in 1600 base pair combinations, 1360 are A plus T combinations are there. In 1600 base pair combinations, how many are there? 240 are G plus C combinations are there. So 240 times G and C are combined together. So 240 into 3. We have to calculate 1360. What are the 1360 times what are combined? A plus T. So A plus T have 2 hydrogen bonds. Understand? So hydrogen bonds between A and T are 2. So that we have to multiply the combination of A plus T with 2. We have to multiply the G plus C with 3. Are you understanding? Okay. Now we summarize them. So this is 2720 and this is 720. So 40, 14, 3. So 3440 hydrogen bonds were present total. Let us see the concept behind this. Very easy. Adenine pairing with the thymine. This is the purine, this is pyrimidine with the 2 hydrogen bonds. Guanine pairing with the cytosine. Here guanine is the purine and cytosine is pyrimidine with the 3 hydrogen bonds. The combinations you have to find out. How many combinations are there in the total by A and T, as well as how many combinations are there in the total by G and C. you just multiply the combinations of A and T with 2 and just calculate the total combinations of G and C with 3, then you will get answer. Clear? Let us do another sum. This is also belongs to calculation of hydrogen bonds, but here the data is different. In previous question we have seen the length of DNA and we calculated the hydrogen bonds. But in this question already hydrogen bonds were mentioned and they are asking about finding the one of the nucleotide. Read the question carefully. In a DNA which is about 340 angstroms length, that number of hydrogen bonds in a particular given DNA is 280. So number of hydrogen bonds were given in the question, that are 280. So what they are asking, calculate the total cytosine. They are asking to calculate C. Okay, let us solve this model now. So 340 angstroms has how many base pairs? 340 angstroms into 10. So 3400 base pairs will be there. It's okay. Now the 340 angstrom has how many helices? 10 helices. 10 helices are present. Right? 10 helices has how many base pairs? 10 helices into 10 base pairs. That is equal to 100 base pairs are present. So from the length we have collected base pairs. 100 base pairs means how many nucleotides? Certainly 200 nucleotides are present. So 280 hydrogen bonds means we cannot calculate how many GC combinations are there and how many AT combinations are there. This time we are going to apply one technique here. Suppose all 100 are GC combinations. Suppose, okay, it is an assumption. All 100 are GC combinations, maybe. That is a maximum probability. The minimum probability is all 100 combinations, all 100 base pair combinations are 80. It may happen. This is what? Maximum. This is what? Minimum. So suppose if all are 100 GC combinations, 100 into 3, how many will be there? 300. So total hydrogen bonds might be present, that are 300 if all the possible combinations of purines and permanents is CG combination. Whereas AT combinations, if you see 100 into 2, that is equal to 200. So minimum 200 and maximum 300 base pair combinations will be present. Okay, base pair means what? Minimum 200 and maximum 300 hydrogen bonds will be present. So but there 280 were there. So here 280 given. In this case, you just do very easy process. You just go for the cross subtraction. In the cross subtraction, what is happening? You just see 300 minus 280. That is equal to 300 minus 280, 20. Next, 200 minus 280. So in cross subtractions, always we have to subtract from higher value to lower value. Okay. So here 80. So what are 80? GC combinations. What are 20? AT combinations. So in 280, how many GC combinations are there? 80. So either G or C or 80. How many AT combinations are there? 20. So A is also 20 and T is also 20. So combination means what? Pair, no? A and T together 20 times pair means A is also 20 and T is also 20. So this is how, with the help of cross subtraction, we will get the data very easily. Now see the question what they are asking about. Calculate the total cytosine. GC combinations in that cytosine is there 80. Answer what? So very easy. No need to apply any other formula. This is a simple cross subtraction, helps you to get the answer in quick mode. So on which basis we can apply this? One helix of DNA consists of 10 base pairs. If all the 10 base pairs are GC combinations or all the 10 base pairs are AT combinations, how many hydrogen bonds are there? Hydrogen bonds in a helix, if all the 10 base pairs are GC, that are GC means between one GC there are 3 hydrogen bonds. If all 10 base pairs are GC, so they are 30. Maximum hydrogen bonds in one helix, possible hydrogen bonds is 30 and the minimum is 20. Clear? In this case, suppose if 29 hydrogen bonds were there in a given one helix, 29 hydrogen bonds were there. In that cross subtraction you do, to 30 minus 29, 1. 29 minus 20, 9. 29 minus 20, 9. So GC combinations are 9, AT combinations are 1. So 1 2s are 2 and 9 3s are 27. So when 27 plus 2, we will get 29 hydrogen bonds. Understand? So for this formula I had applied for hundreds, even for the thousands and 10,000. In any figure, you just apply the total maximum possible GC combinations and minimum possible GC combinations and subtract the given hydrogen bonds by using the cross subtraction mode, and you will get possible G or C values as well as A or T values, so you can easily choose the answer. Understand? Okay, this time we are approaching the 6th sum. It is a different model. Read the question. Given DNA molecule has 6 turns and consists of 30% of adenine, and find the guanine. So in this question we are finding a different model. Calculation of one base residue on the basis of other percentage. So one nitrogen base data was given in the question and we have to calculate the other. So most common type of questions in the pre-medical examinations are coming from this format. Okay, let us see. So total terms are 6. 6 terms is equal to how many base pairs? 60 base pairs. So 60 base pairs means how many nucleotides into 2? 120 nucleotides were formed, right? So in 120 nucleotides, adenine are 30%. So 120 into 30 by 100, that is equal to 36. What is this 36? This 36 is adenine. According to the Chergaff rule, A plus T is equal to 1. So A plus T is equal to 1, right? So A is equal to 36, therefore T is also 36. Together 72. So G plus C, if you want, 120 minus 72, that is equal to 48. If you want G, guanine, that is equal to 48 by 2, that is 24. Finished. Very simple. I hope you understand. So here Chergaff rule is A plus T is equal to 1. G plus C is equal to 1. So A plus G by C plus T or T plus C is equal to 1. This is also correct. This is also correct, and this is also correct. And you just compare this and find what is the percentage of A? 30%, right? What is the percentage of T? 30%. And what is the percentage of G? So G we have given 24. So out of 120, 24 means, okay, they are about 20%. And if G is equal to 24 means C is also 24. 24 in number, 20 is percentage. So according to A plus G, A 30%, G 20%, C 20%, T 30%. Therefore 50 by 50 is equal to 1. So it is tallied. So Chergaff rule is worked for only double helical structure, not for single structure. Single stranded DNA, single stranded RNA, some virus structures are there. Cix 170 and lambda phase. These type of viruses having single stranded molecules. For single stranded molecule, this formula will not work out. So Chergaff rule does not valid for, okay, single stranded genome structures, whether they are present in bacteriophages. I hope you understand this model, right? Let us check another one. Okay, this time the 7th model we are trying. Unlike the question once, what are the number of hydrogen bonds? So again we are calculating the hydrogen bonds, but model is not same. What are the number of hydrogen bonds in a BDNA? Again you are seeing the new term BDNA. Generally Watson and Crick model is applying for pDNA, right-handed DNA. A DNA, B, C DNA, types of DNAs are there, we will see later. Okay, concentrate on the analytical part right now. So what are the number of hydrogen bonds in a bDNA of 1000 base pairs? Here the data is very clear. We have to find out the hydrogen bonds, but in the question data is about bDNA, which is a common DNA. Before all the sums has happened on bDNA only. It is not the new one. And 1000 base pairs were given in that DNA. In that 75% of adenine in one strand and 10% of adenine in its opposite strand. So this is what the difference. So before sums we have calculated 30% or 10% of adenine or guanine or cytosine, okay, on total DNA. But here two different strands, okay, but one nitrogen base residue they have mentioned. So let us see how we have to calculate. So two strands, if we unwind the two strands, one is from 5 prime to 3 prime and opposite 5 prime to 3 prime. So the bDNA and 75%. So strand 1, this is the strand 1, then this is the strand 2. In strand 1, A is about 75%, right? So adenine is 75% in one strand. That is the first strand you assume. And 10% of adenine is in opposite strand. So its opposite strand is this. Here adenine is how much percentage? 10%. This is what the question. We extracted the data into the diagram format. It is very easy to calculate. Let us see. In the strand 1, A is equal to 75% means A is pairing with the T in its opposite strand. I repeat, in the strand 1, percentage of A is 75%. A is pairing with T. Then T is present in its opposite strand or in the same strand? Obviously, opposite strand. So, here the T is equal to 75%. Clear? Here the A is equal to 10% means here the A paired with the T present in its opposite strand means here the T is equal to 10%. No need to confuse. Simple. So here one nitrogen base residue data was given. That is A. A is pairing with the T is present in its opposite strand. So 75% of A is pairing with 75% of T in its opposite strand. Like the same way, the 10% of adenine in the second strand is pairing with the 10% of T in not same strand, opposite strand. Opposite strand means here. So by using this technique, we got two nitrogen bases data. In question they have given only one nitrogen base data. Because of this analysis, because of this observation from the Chertoff rule, we got two bases data. So let us forward. So A plus T is equal to 85%. Here also A plus T is equal to 85%. So G plus C means what? 100 minus 85, that is equal to 15%. Here also G plus C, that is equal to 100 minus 85. So 100 minus 85 is equal to 15%. Clear? So A plus T is equal to 85 and G plus C is equal to 15. For 1000, this is for 100, right? But this is for 100. For 1000, A plus T is equal to 850 and G plus C is equal to 150. So 150 into 3 and 850 into 2. So this is 1750. This is 400. So together is equal to 0512150. Hydrogen bonds were there. So whatever the data they have given in the question, you observe the question and spend 1 or 2 minutes of time, read it twice. Once you understand the question, in 30 seconds you can answer. 10 seconds you can analyze the question. Okay, by practice it will come. And because of the extemperament, the students are failing to solve such easy questions after examination. Once they got out of the examination hall, okay, they feel very bad about their extemperament and all. So damn sure this kind of one question will be there in the NEET examination. Okay, let us try another model. So what is the answer for this? 2150 hydrogen bonds are present according to that data. Clear? Let us see the another model. Okay, this is the last model in this session. So read the question properly. There are 2 single stranded DNA of 10 nucleotide each. What is the probability that they will form a double stranded DNA with all 10 base pairs? Read again. There are 2 single stranded DNA. Till now we have discussed about all the questions about only double stranded DNA. So this is double stranded DNA. Double stranded DNA, Chergaff follows Chergaff's rule. So that is A plus G by T plus C is equal to 1. Clear? But Chergaff's rule is not applicable for single stranded genome molecules, whether DNA or RNA. So here they are asking about the probability. Okay, you are the kings of probability. You are doing a lot of exercise in probability, okay, simultaneous with the biology in first session and third session, second session also, okay. So let us try this. It is very easy to you. So single stranded DNA molecules, that are 2. So this is a single strand DNA molecule and this is also single strand DNA molecule, and each have 10 nucleotides. 1, 2, 3, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this is also, but they are not together connected. So these are the 10 nucleotides of 2 separate single stranded DNA molecules are there. What is the probability that they will form double stranded DNA? They said. So this is the first position here and this is the 10th position. Like that, this is the first position, or this is the first position, or this is the 10th position. We cannot say this is the anti-parallel because it's not double helix. 2 single stranded DNAs. So direction might have been same or anti-parallel, no matter. So at the first position, adenine is there, or thymine is there, or guanine is there, or cytosine is there. We cannot say. So to have the first position by any of the DNA nucleotide, the chance is 1/4. 1/4 is the chance to position at number 1 by any of the DNA base. Like that, a second, a third, fourth, everything. So number of nucleotides sequences given in the single stranded DNA are 10. So 1/4 power 10 is the probability to have their double stranded DNA molecule. It is also considered as 0.25 power 10. This is the probability we can say to have a 2 single stranded DNA molecule to form 1 double stranded DNA. Clear? So not always formulas, sometimes on probabilities also questions will be arrived. By just your logical thinking you can crack the questions. Like this, many models we can discuss, guys. Even though I discussed, okay, 100 models, okay, in front of you, not one model will be done by your only creative mind and only your practice and only your logical thinking. Don't depend on the sums which I have discussed as it is. These are some exercises to cope up your knowledge, okay, regarding the concept of Chergaff rule and other data in the DNA model, okay. So every question what exactly required, first we have to read the question twice until understand. So don't attempt the question as early as possible, okay. Spend the good time, okay, enough time to read the question and understand what has they given, what they are asking. These 2 points and concentrate on, and to do the sum properly, you will get answer without any tension. Clear? Thank you.